I'm James Randi. Tonight we'll be investigating a subject which has fascinated mankind for centuries, dowsing. Recently, it has won the backing of big business and world governments, yet is apparently still scientifically unproven. But first, I'd like to demonstrate how easy it is to be sent in the wrong direction. This is a compass. The Chinese invented this many, many years ago, and it was brought to Europe by who knows. I'm going to show you that a compass sometimes will do rather peculiar things. This is a ship's compass. But seeing what it's about to do now, compass, would you move for me, please? Just give us a demonstration of how easily you move. As you can see, if it's convinced, it can be made to move. Now stop, compass. Stop and move back in the other direction. Right there, that's fine. I wouldn't take this one on a navigation trip if I were you, if you really depended on it to find out where you are. Now, this effect is achieved with simple schoolboy science. Yet it might be easy to believe something supernatural was going on. The claims made for dowsing are sometimes so dramatic that it's hard not to be impressed. Locating water, minerals, and even so-called bad influences by swinging a pendulum, twitching a forked stick, or jerking a set of rods has been with us for centuries. In medieval days, dowsing was widely used in metal mining, as well as for more superstitious purposes. Its popularity has lasted through the years with many different uses, from divining water and minerals to entertainment at Victorian society tea parties. Even in the high-tech 90s, we're still using it. Only this year, the Scilly Isles Council brought in dowsers in their attempts to cope with the worst drought in the island's history. Dowsing also has strong military connections. It was used to try to locate landmines during the Vietnam War. Now, take a look at this. Do you think a dowser could find an ancient monument from this map alone, even though we've removed all identifying landmarks? My first guest believes he can. Please welcome Michael Cook. Unlike many other professional dowsers who we approached in our research for the program, Michael is happy to put his claims to the test. Michael, how does map dowsing work?
We don't really know. All we can say is we're using it as a reference point. In one sense, if you get many dowsers together, you have many explanations. I tend to think of it rather like a radar. The question goes out, the reply comes back. And the map here is the screen.
Well, this is our map, and at your suggestion, we've removed all place names and information except roads, rivers, and contour lines. Now, there is a famous monument within this area, and it's this that you hope to be able to find. Could you please demonstrate how you do this and tell us which of the 24 squares on this board that you believe the monument is in?
Certainly. Right. Many dowsers work in many ways. The way I'm working is I'm taking a straight line and moving a pendulum here. Now, for my yes, it will move to the left. For my no, it will move to the right. I shall use that to give me a basic yes or no. Now, I can go all through 24 squares, but we'll speed it up a little bit. I had a yes on this line and on this one. I had a yes down here. I had a yes along there. So I've got possibilities. So, there. Right. So we'll start with all the 4 squares. Is an ancient monument in this square? Yes. Is there an ancient monument in this square? Yes. Now, I presume from your question you'd picked an ancient monument.
Yes, we did.
Right.
We very carefully, I must say, we very carefully combed the whole area to make sure there was nothing else that would match that description.
Right. So I'll take now a particular question. The ancient monument your side were dealing with, is it in this square? Yes or no? Yes. Double check it. Is it in this square? No. My first question was there an ancient monument?
I see.
So, in both those squares there was, but the particular one that you're after, I would say there.
According to the description I have in my pocket here, this is the ruins of Dunfermline Abbey and Palace, where the Scottish King Robert the Bruce is buried. Congratulations, Michael. You found the correct square. Of course, this one test doesn't prove or disprove map dowsing. It could still be chance operating, but there's no doubt that this is very impressive. Now, Michael, you tell me that you're a health dowser. What does that mean?
That I spend most of my time dowsing and being concerned with people's health.
I see.
Rather than using a map, I'm looking at how well their body systems run, whether they're deficient in minerals or vitamins, because obviously they hold quite an important part in the body's functioning.
Of course. Now, apparently there's an amazing theory whereby dowsers say there are precise spots on the Earth which are dangerous and can make you ill, from insomnia to allergies and even cancer. Can you explain this theory to us?
No more than I could explain gravity to you. I know there are such things, but how they work, I don't really know.
What's it called?
The actual faults, there are all sorts of names that are given. They can be called black spots, they can be called unhealthy places.
Let's take a closer look. Before you came tonight, two experienced dowsers, Sue and Barry Wood, marked 3 areas on our studio floor, which, as you can see, are colored blue. They say that 1 is a neutral area, 1 is good, and 1 is bad. That is to say, detrimental to your health. So, Michael, will you go over these spots again and tell us which you believe is the bad spot?
Start off here. Obviously, you use your quieter and have a bit more concentration. Let's have a look. Is this spot a good or a bad spot? Good is yes, bad is no. Not so good. It's a bad spot. I tend to work in a percentage. Is this 10% bad? Yes. 20% bad? Yes. 30% bad? No. So it's up to about 30% bad. It's about so-so.
Very well. Let's try number
Not
2,
really.
if you would, please.
Right. Right. Again, I'll work in the same way, on a line. Is this a bad spot? Yes or no? No, it's not a bad spot. Is it a good spot? 10% good? Yeah. 20% good? Yeah. 30% good? Yeah. 40% good? Oh, yes. 50% good? No. So it's quite good. That one's detrimental to health. This one would be beneficial to it.
I see. All right, let's try the 3rd spot.
Let's have a look at this one again. Is it good or bad for health? Bad. Is it 10%? Yes. 20% bad? Yes. 30% bad? Yes. 40% bad? Yes. 50% bad? Yes. 60% bad? Yes. 70% bad? Just about on 70% bad. So this one, I would think, is certainly the worst one of the 2, and quite considerably so, and that one over there would be beneficial to health.
So of the 3, this is the worst one.
Certainly.
I see. So you believe that one is the bad one, we'll call that one the bad one, and you believe that spot is so bad that it could dramatically affect the strength of someone standing on it. Is that
Certainly
correct?
most people it will affect.
Very well. Michael, will you join me over here, please?
Okay.
Well, you suggested that we do a test on this, and to test that theory, we should invite a real strong man. So please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Ahern, the National Northern Bodybuilding Champion. Now, Mike, I'd like you to try your strength on each spot using this bull worker. But before you do so, let's see how it works.
Certainly.
Please.
We set the marker to the beginning here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just give it a little squeeze like so. And there you go.
Better you than I.
Okay.
All right, let's go over to spot number 1 and see what happens.
We set the marker. Squeeze it in.
Oh, what's your opinion, Mike? Did you feel any weaker on that
No,
spot?
not really. It was quite good. It felt quite strong on this.
I see. All right, let's try number 2, if you please.
So I'll just reset the marker. squeeze. So.
And what's your opinion on that one?
A little bit tougher, I think.
A little bit tougher than the
About the
last
same
one.
as the first one, yes.
All right, we have one more to go, so step over to number 3, if you please.
Okay.
What do you think?
Now, that was a little bit tougher.
A little bit tougher
I must
than
admit than the first
the
two,
second
yes.
one. It was.
Yes.
See? Would you join me over here, please? Now, the evidence here would suggest that Michael might be in some way affected by these spots.
So the first spot was 30% bad, the second was 45% good, and the third was 70% bad.
Would you say that that's approximately the degree of...
I would say that the first two are about the same.
I see.
But the third one, there was definitely a difference.
Well, we must take into account, of course, the fact that you get a little more tired after you've done it here,
Yes,
there, and there. So that might be an element in this. I'd like to ask Sue and Barry, in your opinion, did Michael find the spot that you said was bad?
Yes, he did.
He did, I see. Well, thank you very much for taking part in the experiment. Michael, Sue, and Barry, been a pleasure meeting you, sir. Thank you very much, Michael. Well, so far what we've seen looks good, but even between dowsers, there's some doubt about this hotspot stress theory. And yet many people take it so seriously that they alter the patterns of their lives to avoid too much contact with these so-called hotspots. Dr. Keith Mumby, you used to be a GP and you're now a clinical ecologist. Dr. Mumby, how important do you think geopathic stress really is?
If it exists as a phenomenon, I think it could be one of the most important medical discoveries ever. There's an increasing amount of circumstantial evidence, but I have to say no scientific proof. We're not really trying to say that this is a cause of disease or the only cause of disease, but a contributory factor.
Well, Dr. Mumby took us to York, where he had discovered one particular street that he felt was a dangerous place to live because of geopathic stress. Why that particular street, Dr. Mumby?
I was alerted to this by one of my patients, and in fact there were about a dozen or 15 people who died of cancer and strokes and heart disease in this street. It gave the impression that this was an unhealthy place to live.
We visited York with Dr. Mumby and 2 independent dowsers to test his theory. We've deliberately avoided naming the street you took us to and dowsed 2 other streets as well so that we could compare results.
No. How deep is this water? How deep is this water? How deep, 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 how deep?
Now, that's almost certainly the drain on my left.
Which way is it flowing? Which way is it flowing? Which way is it flowing that way? Now, as there's deep down water flowing that way, and in that corner there's deep down water flowing that way, it follows that at some point those 2 water lines are crossing deep in the ground, as so, or so, and a crossing of deep down water is a bad place.
Well, sir, I'm well satisfied now. On the second run, this street is perfectly normal. There's no stress other than what you would find in a normal street. We're taking this as a 3rd road we've checked this morning. I'm going to have quite a little difficulty, I think, because of the weather change. I'm quite happy from the 3 roads that we've done this morning. The first one bothered me quite considerably. The second one was nothing at all untoward. This one is marginally stressed.
We didn't prove geopathic stress exists today, but we certainly didn't disprove it. It was rather disappointing that the dowsers didn't find anything in the street that I felt was important.
Keith, you felt one of those streets was dangerous. You tested it, and it was, in fact, pronounced normal by the dowsers. What do you feel about the claims made for geopathic stress now?
Well, that doesn't alter my opinion. There are two possible reasons. One is that the street was unhealthy, but geopathic stress wasn't the reason. I think it's also important to bear in mind that the dowsers were asked to do something they'd never done before. They hadn't tuned into this kind of experiment. None of us really knew what we were looking for, and as any dowser will tell you, you have to ask the right question.
We asked the Yorkshire Cancer Registry about that street that was doused there, and they said that 3 people had died in that street in the last 5 years from cancer, and that this figure is about average and certainly not something to be concerned about.
I'm interested in the figures that you've just quoted because as I told you, I simply went on hearsay. I was told by a patient there had been a number of cancer deaths.
Judge James Pickles is with us this evening. You once pronounced, Judge, from the bench that dowsing works.
Yes, I do believe it works so far as water's concerned. What I can't understand is how map dowsing works. And it plainly did work tonight. But after all that is there is cardboard and paper. As for geometric stress, that's real Doctor Who stuff. I can't believe it's right. And I'm very worried to think that it might be right.
Sue Blackmore.
Reading the scientific evidence on dowsing, it all seems to show consistently that it doesn't work. We've had a demonstration here that did seem to work, and I'd love to see what happens when that's followed up. But if the evidence we have so far is right and it doesn't work, then people are doing something very dangerous. And it's a trick as old as any in the book, which is to come along and say, I can show you something's wrong, and I have a cure and a way to put it right. Move your bed to a better place, move house, whatever.
In our audience tonight is John Tate, who is Jeanette Tate's father. John, your daughter Jeanette disappeared 13 years ago, age 13, and tragically there's been no trace of her found since then. Did dowsers offer to help you find her?
Yes, many did. They wrote to me asking for photographs that they wanted to dowse over, locks of hair, items of clothing, all kind of things like that. To the degree in the end we've no photographs left anymore now because, you know, they just took them, never returned them sort of thing. But after many hundreds have tried, our hopes have risen every single time. They always come along and say they know the answers to it. They speak with authority. But finally, at the end, we're still in the same position as we were at the very beginning. It can only raise your hopes unnecessarily.
Well, I'd like to thank you, John. I'd like to thank all of you very much for coming here tonight and for your contributions. We've heard many opinions, both for and against, in this vital area of dowsing for good and bad places to live and work. If life and death decisions are also to be based on the results of dowsing, surely we should try to establish once and for all whether it works reliably. Please welcome my final guest, Clive Thompson. Well, tell us, Clive, what do you do?
Well, at the moment I'm doing quite a lot of water divining, and I'm also helping out the Paris Mountain Mining Company and looking for the mineral ore band which goes around the mountain.
Well, tonight, Clive, you've agreed to attempt to find a piece of zinc ore like this one right over here, which is concealed under one of the 7 boxes that you see behind us. Is that correct?
Yes, that's quite correct.
All right, and you're happy to do it this way, are you?
I'm happy to do it this way. It's not normal. We work normally in the open, you know, on the mountainsides or wherever, looking for ore. But realizing you're doing a studio one, I'm willing to have a go and see if it works.
First, please show us the effect of your dowsing rod on this sample of zinc ore, and we'll just conceal the sample with a box so the conditions are exactly the same as when you come to do the test.
Righto, James. Now, to explain how the rod works, when you're facing the ore, I don't know if you can see this, but we put a white-ended tip there. It has a slight sideways move when you're there. Take it off, and it dies. See it die, comes in, and it dies again. So to amplify that, I give it a voluntary upward movement. So aim it at the ore, and what do you get? You get a large oval form, which is easy to distinguish. If I take it to the side, see it die? Now close my eyes, bring it in. I can feel it moving. Dead.
Well, that seems to be a very dramatic demonstration. Now, will you please try to locate the ore sample taken from the same piece of zinc ore which is hidden in one of the boxes behind us? Of course, if chance alone were operating here, you'd have a 1 in 7 chance of finding the sample at your first attempt. Using guesswork alone, we'd expect you to locate the zinc ore sample by your 3rd or 4th attempt. Good luck, Clive.
Thank you very much, James. Right, I'll take number 1 first. In the upward movement. There's no there. No. Come back to that. Try 4 again just to see. Well, James, we'll bank on 7, see if it's there.
On number 7. All right, let's take a look and see. Now, even I don't know underneath which box the zinc ore is, and I see that it's not here. Well, Clive, would you like to have a second try at it?
Let's try number 4 again.
Number 4.
No.
Well, it was wrong, so let's try another attempt, shall we?
Well, we'll try 2.
We'll try number 2.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look. Here we are at box number 2, the third guess, and there we are. There's the piece of zinc. Zinc ore, pardon me. Well, Clive, would you join me here for a minute?
Yes, certainly.
We said that by chance you'd find it on your 3rd or 4th attempt. You found it on the 3rd attempt, so your results sadly seem to be no better than chance. But we'd like to thank you very much for coming tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you have heard and seen many claims for the art of dowsing. Now that you've seen the evidence, what do you think? I'm James Randi. Good night.